The Republican Party is fracturing before our eyes. Donald Trump just concluded an explosive, profanity-laden phone call with one of his own senators, a confrontation that reveals the depths of GOP division over his Venezuelan invasion plans. Trump's MAGA coalition is showing serious cracks. Congressional Republicans are openly revolting against his authoritarian overreach, stripping away presidential powers in real time. What we're witnessing isn't just political disagreement, it's a constitutional crisis unfolding within the conservative movement itself. The War Powers Resolution recently advanced through the Senate with bipartisan support, dealing a significant blow to Trump's ambitions. This isn't just about Venezuela anymore. It's about whether Congress will reassert its constitutional authority or surrender completely to executive unilateralism. Let's break down what's happening, why it matters, and what it means for the future of American foreign policy.
The President of the United States does not have the right to unilaterally take this country into war, even against a corrupt and brutal dictator like Maduro. The United States does not have the right, as Trump stated this morning, to run Venezuela. Congress must immediately pass a War Powers Resolution to end this illegal military operation and reassert its constitutional responsibilities. Trump's attack on Venezuela will not make the United States and the world safer. Quite the contrary. This brazen violation of international law gives a green light to any country on earth that may wish to attack another nation to seize their resources or change their governments. This is the horrific logic of force that Putin used to justify his brutal attack on Ukraine. Trump and his administration have made it clear that they want to revive the Monroe Doctrine, a belief that claims that the United States has the right to dominate the affairs of the hemisphere. They have spoken openly about controlling Venezuela's oil reserves, the largest in the world. Let's make no mistake about it. This is rank imperialism. It recalls the darkest chapters of U.S. interventions in Latin America, which have left a terrible legacy. It will and should be condemned by the democratic world. Trump campaigned for president on an America First platform. He claimed to be the peace candidate. Well, at a time when 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, when our healthcare system is collapsing, when people throughout this country cannot afford housing, and when artificial intelligence threatens millions of jobs, it is time for the president to focus on the crises facing this country and end the military adventurism abroad. Trump is failing in his job to run the United States of America. He should not be trying to run.
Senator Sanders laid out the constitutional case clearly. The administration wants to redirect American resources, military power, and political capital toward seizing Venezuelan oil reserves, a goal that won't materialize for at least a decade, won't meaningfully reduce gas prices, and primarily serves to inflate stock valuations for corporations like ExxonMobil. This isn't sound policy. It's imperialism disguised as energy strategy, and here's the remarkable part: Republican senators agree. They're pushing back against their own president's war plans. Trump recently told the New York Times that international law holds no authority over him, but he operates solely according to his personal moral compass. It's a stunning admission of authoritarian intent.
Than any disagreement in policy. If you look at the people who actually voted, every single one of them have supported the administration's plan. Second of all, as the president, I believe himself has already said, every president, Democrat or Republican, believes the War Powers Act is fundamentally a fake and unconstitutional law. It's not going to change anything about how we conduct foreign policy over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, and that'll continue to be.
The vice president just lied to the American people. Vance claimed the War Powers Act is unconstitutional, suggesting Trump has unlimited authority to launch invasions, start wars, and violate international law without congressional oversight. He positioned Trump as an untouchable executive, a king above constitutional checks and balances. He expected Republicans to fall in line behind this narrative. They didn't. 5 Republican senators joined every Democrat to advance the War Powers Resolution through committee, a 52-47 vote that directly contradicts the administration's position. The resolution would block Trump's ability to use military force against Venezuela following the controversial capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Trump's reaction was volcanic. According to sources who spoke with The Hill, the president placed an expletive-filled phone call to Senator Susan Collins of Maine, one of the 5 Republicans who voted against him. The call was described as furious, with Trump very mad, very hot. One source characterized it as Trump reading Collins the Riot Act in a call that came completely out of nowhere. Collins's office confirmed the conversation took place but declined to provide details about what was said. The other Republican defectors? Rand Paul, Lisa Murkowski, Josh Hawley, and Todd Young. Their votes sent Trump into a public rage on social media, where he declared, "Republicans should be ashamed of the senators that just voted with Democrats in attempting to take away our powers to fight and defend the United States of America." Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and Todd Young should never be elected to office again. Think about that. The sitting president is calling for members of his own party to be removed from office, not for corruption, not for betrayal, but for exercising their constitutional responsibilities. Collins responded to reporters with barely concealed sarcasm. The president obviously is unhappy with the vote. I guess this means that he would prefer to have Governor Mills or somebody else whom he's not had a great relationship. Now, Susan Collins doesn't deserve unqualified praise here. Her record is complicated at best. But in this moment, she's standing between Trump and an illegal war of conquest. This crisis exposes several critical fractures. First, Trump has completely abandoned his No New Wars platform. The supposed anti-interventionist candidate is now planning regime change operations in South America to seize oil resources. It was always a lie, but now the mask is fully off. Second, there's a genuine ideological split emerging within the Republican Party over interventionism. Senators like Rand Paul and Thomas Massie have been telling their colleagues for months, start planning for life after Trump. If you claim to oppose endless wars and nation-building projects designed to enrich oil executives, now is the time to prove it. Some Republicans eyeing 2028 presidential runs, Ted Cruz comes to mind, might want to align themselves with this anti-war faction. It could define the post-Trump GOP identity. Third, Susan Collins is leaking this story for strategic reasons. She's facing re-election in Maine this year, and the race is competitive. By publicizing Trump's abusive phone call, she's positioning herself as independent from the president, appealing to moderate voters who decide close elections in her state. But here's what makes 2025 different from previous cycles. Her opponent, Graham Platner, represents a new kind of Democratic challenge in Maine. He's a progressive veteran who understands the human cost of forever wars, conflicts that destroy service members while enriching defense contractors and oil companies. Maine is the clearest path forward. Graham Platner is the candidate who can win that seat and actually use it to advance progressive priorities. This isn't just about one phone call or one Senate vote. What we're witnessing is the Republican Party's reckoning with Trumpism, a choice between constitutional governance and authoritarian impulse. Some Republicans are choosing the Constitution. We need Democrats who'll do the same while fighting for working people, opposing endless wars, and challenging corrupt leadership within their own party. The path forward requires electing representatives who will fight for structural change, not incremental adjustments. People like Graham Platner in Maine, Peggy Flanagan in Minnesota, progressives who reject corporate money and demand accountability from leadership. The 2026 midterms will determine whether we can stop Trump's Supreme Court ambitions, whether we can end illegal military adventurism, and whether we can build a political movement that actually serves working Americans instead of defense contractors and oil executives. The fight continues. Stay informed, stay engaged, and don't let them silence your voice. Platner isn't taking money from AIPAC. He's not funded by the oil lobby or the crypto industry. He wants Chuck Schumer removed from Senate leadership. Schumer hasn't handpicked him. In fact, Schumer has been more hostile to Platner than to almost any other Democratic primary challenger. That alone should tell you something. Recent polling suggests Platner has the strongest chance of defeating Collins. But beyond electoral mathematics, he represents the kind of structural change politics that actually delivers results. Look at New York. Many dismissed Zoran Mamdani's universal childcare proposal as unrealistic. 8 days into his administration, he delivered it. When you elect leaders committed to transformative policy, transformation becomes possible. If we want to remove Chuck Schumer from power, we need senators who will vote him out of leadership. If we want to abolish ICE, not reform it, but abolish an agency with a documented record of abuse and zero accountability, we need representatives who'll say that plainly. Graham Platner is that candidate in Maine. Here's why Trump is particularly enraged about losing Collins. He knows the House is likely flipping Democratic in the midterms. But the Senate? That's different. Trump believes he can hold the Senate. And if he controls the Senate for the next 2 years, he controls Supreme Court confirmations. We could see Alito or Thomas retire, allowing Trump to lock in a radical conservative supermajority for another generation. This would fundamentally reshape American jurisprudence for decades, continuing the rollback of civil rights, voting protections, environmental regulations, and reproductive freedoms. But we can prevent this. Winning the Senate is achievable if we commit to competitive races in Nebraska, Texas, North Carolina, Maine, Ohio, and potentially Iowa. These are difficult fights, but they're winnable with the right candidates and grassroots energy.